This is the criminal tapes.
The definitive recording of the case.
When a crime happens, the truth is often scattered. Our job is to gather the fragments, the evidence, the timelines, the human stories, and create the one record that puts it all together.
We are the narrators. This is the final tape.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Sydney.
Let's set the record straight.
The story begins in Washington, D.C., in the spring of 1981. It's a city on edge. The optimism of a new decade is clashing with a stark reality on the streets. But the fear we're talking about today isn't happening on the streets. It's creeping into people's homes, specifically in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. It's a quiet, insidious terror that arrives in the dead of night. The police have a name for the man they're hunting: the Pillowcase Rapist. His method is brutally consistent and psychologically shattering. He breaks into apartments, often through unlocked windows, and he is silent. He moves through the dark like a phantom. The victims don't see his face. They only feel his presence. He takes a pillowcase from their own bed and places it over their head, shrouding them in darkness and suffocating fear.
For months, a shadow hangs over the city. Women are terrified. Locks are triple-checked. Every creak of a floorboard at night sends a jolt of adrenaline through your body. The police have almost nothing to go on. No witnesses who have seen his face, no fingerprints, just a string of traumatized victims and a terrifying MO. But then, on one hot night in July, the Phantom makes a mistake. He breaks into the apartment of a 22-year-old woman, and this time, the victim fights back. During the struggle, she manages to pull at his hair. More importantly, after he flees, she has the presence of mind to preserve the evidence left behind on her nightgown.
For the first time, the police have something tangible, something that belongs to him. It's not much, just a few strands of hair. But in 1981, it's a massive breakthrough. An FBI specialist is brought in to analyze the sample. Using microscopic hair comparison, a technique considered cutting edge at the time, the expert concludes the hairs belong to a Caucasian male.
The description the victim gives, though she never saw his face clearly, is of a white man, maybe in his late 20s or early 30s. The police plastered the neighborhood with composite sketches. They get a flood of tips, but one name keeps coming up from an anonymous caller: Kirk Odom, a 29-year-old former Marine who lives nearby.
Kirk Odom is brought in for questioning. He has no criminal record. He seems like a normal guy. He insists he's innocent, but he matches the general description. And when the FBI expert compares Odom's hair to the strands found at the scene, he makes a definitive declaration.
He declares it's a match. In court, he testifies that the chance of the hair belonging to anyone other than Kirk Odom is 1 in 2,000. Combined with the victim's tentative identification in a lineup, it's enough.
So, case closed, right? The Phantom of Capitol Hill is caught. The city breathes a sigh of relief. Kirk Odom is convicted and sentenced to more than 20 years in prison. The case file is stamped shut, and for 2 decades, it gathers dust.
But this isn't where the story ends. It's where it begins to unravel. Kirk Odom never stops proclaiming his innocence. From his prison cell, he writes letters, files appeals, contacts anyone who will listen. For 22 years, almost no one does.
Then, in the early 2000s, a new kind of justice emerges, championed by organizations like the Innocence Project. It's based on a science that was pure fiction in 1981: DNA analysis. Odom's case is a perfect candidate. He pushes for the evidence from his case, the nightgown, preserved for decades, to be tested. The court agrees. The sample from the victim's nightgown is sent to a lab. They extract the attacker's genetic profile and compare it to a sample from Kirk Odom. The result is absolute. It is definitive.
It wasn't a match. After 22 years in prison, Kirk Odom is exonerated. The DNA proves without a shadow of a doubt that he was innocent. The experts' 1 in 2,000 chance was in reality 0. The eyewitness identification was wrong. The system had failed, and an innocent man's life was shattered.
But the story just gets stranger. The exoneration opens up a chilling new question. If Kirk Odom didn't do it, who did? The real pillowcase rapist had been free for over 2 decades, but now police had his DNA profile.
Investigators take the unknown attacker's profile and run it through CODIS, the national DNA database, hoping for a match. And they get one. A hit. The system flags a man whose DNA is on file. Finally, it seems, they have their phantom. But when they look at the name that comes back, it makes no sense. The man isn't a known offender. He has a perfect alibi for the night of the crime. There is absolutely no way he could have been the attacker. He had a top-secret security clearance because he worked for the FBI.
So who was he? And why was his DNA on a nightgown from a 1981 crime scene? Investigators dig into his work history, and that's when they find it. The final, horrifying layer of this story. The reveal that calls everything we think we know about justice into question.
The man was a technician at the FBI crime lab, the same lab that analyzed the original hair samples decades ago. His DNA wasn't on the nightgown because he was the attacker. His DNA was on the nightgown because he had contaminated it in the lab by mistake. The infallible DNA evidence that exonerated one man and pointed to another was itself a ghost, a phantom echo from a forensics lab created by human error.
The one piece of evidence that could have identified a monster was corrupted by the very system designed to analyze it. Kirk Odom was freed, but the real pillowcase rapist was never identified. He vanished back into the shadows, leaving behind only broken lives and a chilling question.
If you can't trust the hair, the eyewitness, or even the DNA, what can you trust?